There will never be a next BTS. Not because no one is talented enough, but because what BTS gave people was never something you could copy in the first place. You try getting into new groups, you explore new artists, and yet something feels missing. It's like you're chasing a feeling you once had, but no matter how many new songs you play, you can't find it again. And the frustrating part is, you don't even know what that feeling is. Here's the truth. BTS didn't become BTS because of music alone. There's something deeper going on, something psychological, something human. And once you understand that, you'll realize why no one can ever replace them. Most people think success in music comes down to skill. Better vocals, better dance, better visuals. And yes, BTS has all of that. But that's not why they became irreplaceable. BTS didn't stand out because they were perfect. They stood out because they were visible. From the very beginning, they showed things most artists are trained to hide: their fears, their insecurities, their confusion about who they were and where they were going. They didn't present themselves as finished products. They let you watch them become one, and that changes everything. Because most artists follow an invisible script. Be confident, be polished, be flawless, always look like you have it together. But BTS kept breaking that script. They talked about pressure, about mental health, about feeling lost, about not knowing who they are. And when someone says the exact things you've been feeling but couldn't put into words, you don't just listen to them, you connect to them. That's where BTS becomes different. Because BTS is not just a group, it's 7 different human stories. And each member represents something very specific, something deeply relatable. RM represents the part of you that questions everything, the part that overthinks, the part that feels like it doesn't quite belong anywhere. He talks about identity, about constantly changing, about the pressure of trying to understand yourself while the world is watching. He doesn't pretend to have all the answers, and that's exactly why people trust him. He gives language to confusion. He makes it okay to not have everything figured out. Suga represents pain, honesty, and healing. Not the kind of pain that is hidden, but the kind that is confronted directly. He talks about depression, about burnout, about anger, about the cost of chasing dreams. And he doesn't soften it. He doesn't turn it into something pretty. He shows it as it is. And in doing that, he creates space for others to face their own struggles. He tells you that it's okay to feel broken, and more importantly, that you can rebuild yourself. Jhope represents something people often misunderstand. On the surface, he looks like pure energy, pure positivity. But what he actually represents is chosen hope. Not the kind of happiness that just appears, but the kind you build through discipline and consistency. He shows that even when things are hard, you can choose how you show up. He reminds people that hope isn't something you wait for. It's something you create, every single day. Jin represents insecurity in a very real and quiet way. He often hides it behind humor, behind confidence, behind being the one who makes everyone laugh. But underneath that is someone who started later than others, who had to work relentlessly to stand at the same level. He represents the fear of not being enough, the fear of being behind, and the strength it takes to keep going anyway. That resonates with anyone who has ever felt like they're trying to catch up in life. Jimin represents vulnerability, the ability to feel deeply and express it without holding back. In a world where people are constantly told to hide their emotions, Jimin does the opposite. He puts everything into his performances, into his voice, into his presence. He shows that sensitivity is not weakness, it's strength. And for many people, that's something they've never been allowed to believe before. V represents individuality, the part of you that feels different, that doesn't quite fit into expectations. He doesn't try to conform. He doesn't try to be what people expect him to be. And because of that, he gives others permission to be themselves. He represents the idea that being different is not something to fix, it's something to embrace. Jungkook represents growth. You didn't just meet him as a finished artist. You watched him grow up. You watched him improve, evolve, and push himself constantly. He represents potential, the idea that you don't have to start perfect, that you can become something greater through time, effort, and persistence. He embodies the journey of becoming.
I'm spending half of my life with them, my second family.
고통도 있을 거고 결국 그 끝은 당연하게 돌아와야 될 곳에 돌아왔다고 생각이 들고.
And this is the part most people miss. You don't love BTS just because of what they do. You love them because of what they reflect back to you. They are mirrors. Each member reflects a different part of being human. And when you see yourself in them, it stops being entertainment. It becomes personal. That's why this cannot be recreated. Because you can copy music, you can copy performance styles, you can copy concepts and aesthetics, but you cannot copy lived experience. You cannot copy genuine growth. You cannot copy the exact combination of personalities, struggles, timing, and connection that BTS represents. And without that, it doesn't feel the same. So when people ask, why can't there be a next BTS? They're asking the wrong question. Because BTS is not a formula. It's a timeline. You didn't just discover BTS. You grew with them. You were there when they were doubted, when they were underestimated, when they spoke about things no one else was saying, when they succeeded, when they struggled, when they changed. And that kind of connection cannot be recreated on demand. It can't be manufactured. It can't be repeated. It can only happen once in that exact way. BTS didn't become irreplaceable because they were the best at everything. They became irreplaceable because they became part of your life. That's why you can listen to other artists. You can appreciate them. You can admire their talent. But you still find yourself going back to BTS because you're not just listening to songs. You're revisiting a version of yourself. Maybe the reason there is no next BTS is because there was only ever meant to be one. They weren't a formula to be solved. They were a moment in time that reminded us what it feels like to be human in a digital world. You can appreciate other artists, you can admire new groups, and you can love the evolution of the genre, but you will always come back to them. Not because they were the best at the game, but because they were the ones who finally invited you to stop playing the game and just be.